Up the live stream, ready to live stream on YouTube and Facebook at the same time as here in the Zoom room, and we are live. Beautiful. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Firth here, one of the Crowns and founding advisory board members of the company. It's my pleasure to be the MC for Members Night today. We've got people in the chat in Zoom that have said they are from Washington State, California, New Zealand, Virginia, Ontario, Canada, Mexico, Nevada, Charleston, that's a dance, isn't it? Alberta, Canada, and so forth. What do we got here? Surabaya, Indonesia, Toronto. They're typing so fast I can't keep up. Lots of people. Let's just do it that way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have wordly translation because Neumi's in 74 countries. We've got people all over the globe speaking all sorts of different languages. This is the second call for the day. We've already had our founder, Steve Scott, present for the Northern Hemisphere timeframe, and this is the second event. With that in mind, I'm going to hand you to our Vice President of Sales, Sergio Delamora, to kick off the event. Over to you, buddy.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Hello, everybody. It's so good to see so many wonderful people here tonight. What a wonderful time to start March. So I don't want to take too much time today because it's a very special call. You still have a few minutes to get people on this. It's not every day we get to hear directly from Steve himself regarding what it means to be a super achiever. And, you know, we've had some wonderful trainings in the past few weeks, so I think it goes great in hand. And we have a special surprise for you. I know that many of you may have seen it floating around or maybe aware, but we do have a special today. So I want to invite you to do a few things. One, if you qualified for Achieve with 100 points or more, congratulations. We are working now to get everything set up. So if you haven't done so and qualified, please reply to our email so that we can get you registered and ready to go. You won't want to miss a training that you will receive from Steve in Barcelona for Achieve. And after Achieve, you'll want to stay because you won't want to miss what we're going to share this coming summit. I can tell you that our energy focus is now heading towards this 5-year celebration, and you will see that it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In fact, this is the first company that I've ever worked with that's done a global convention outside of the United States. And so this is a big deal for us to go to Barcelona and celebrate the 5-year anniversary there. Steve himself will be traveling, and we want to make sure you get excited. We'll give you a little bit of a tease of some of the things he will be sharing, not only with the group from Achieve, but with all of us. And guess what? I'm going to go ahead and share the surprise now. So because you're on Members Night tonight, we have a very limited time offer special. And all you will need to do is go to the Eventbrite website. And if you type in the special code Members Night, as you will see on the chat, you will have a discount for your ticket. So you can purchase your ticket to convention for $199. Take advantage of this limited time offer. I do want to let you know that tickets are starting to sell out fast, and we only have a full capacity of 800 members, just along with the events that are being taking place and being done around the world. There are meetings that have hundreds of people in them. So we want to make sure that all of you are part of this wonderful event and that you take advantage of the promotion. Now, that's not all, my friends. We will be announcing the Team Challenge top winners next Monday morning on Neumi Live. So make sure you join us on Neumi TV at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, because Chris and I will be announcing the top winners for Team Challenge, and we'll know who went to Utah. And guess what? We're going to start sending the backpacks out for all those team members that got 60 points and more. A lot of exciting things. We just wrapped up NYKO. Next week, when Aaron's back, we'll go ahead and give you, we'll give Michael some updates to share from that tour. And of course, you know, the one important thing is you will have the opportunity to take advantage of a wonderful promotion. If you don't know how that works, to get the momentum going and to continue March, being the 3rd month of the year, we have an opportunity for you to 3x your business, okay? So 3x your business, enroll 3 people with 100 PV or more during the month of March 2026, and you will get an additional $50 bonus that will be paid out with your unit level. This is limited to 1 bonus per member, but how great is that? Imagine if you just sign up 3 people throughout the month, you'll get the bonus on top of that. Neumi can grow 3 times more this month of March. 3x promotion is now live. And, I could be here sharing so many wonderful things because that's what we have. But hey, you made it to tonight's special event. And I'm going to introduce our wonderful founder, Mr. Stephen K. Scott, who's not only Neumi's founder, but also an author and a very good person. As is, it's a pleasure for me to be working with him very closely and be his friend as well. He's a good brother in Christ and a good mentor. So I'm excited for you guys to be part of this tonight. And over to you, Steve. Welcome.
Thank you, Sergio. This is a little different than normal. This kind of to just give you a little taste of what's going to happen in Madrid when we're there. For those of you that don't know, and probably most of the people on the call do know, I flunked out of 9 jobs in my first 6 years after college. I had a degree in marketing from the business college at Arizona State University. I thought I was going to go out and set the world on fire, become an ad exec at an ad agency or something like that. And I just couldn't succeed, no matter how hard I tried. And I tried really hard. How many of you, and you don't have to raise your hand, have lost 9 jobs in 6 years? I mean, that takes some work. And I would be what could be described as a chronic failure. Oops, I just hit the wrong button, speaking of failing. And let's see, Michael, is there a way that I don't have to see the people that are joining us now to admit, because as you know, I'm ADD and it distracts me.
I will remove your co-host rights and
okay.
that'll block it for you.
Okay, good. That's perfect. And but I really wanted to try. I mean, I really wanted to succeed. I had a wife and I had a child, and I kept getting laid off. I remember the worst or most cruel layoff came 9 months into my 3rd job. I had finally gotten a job in a marketing company. There were 3,500 employees. There was plenty of room for growth, and I tell people I was first in, last out. I tried harder than I've ever tried to succeed. I had a good opportunity. And 9 months into it, my boss, the senior vice president of marketing, who was considered a marketing guru in Philadelphia, called me into his office, had me sit down, and he said, Steve, you are the single greatest disappointment in my entire life. You will never succeed in marketing. You have 20 minutes to clean out your desk. And that's pretty rough. I have literally at that time, I had a 9-month-old baby. I had a wife. I had apartment rent I couldn't afford. I didn't have anything in savings. And I've just lost job number 3. Little did I know I had 6 more jobs to lose in the next 4 months. And, but I couldn't succeed. Then a friend of mine, Gary Smalley, who has since passed away, but he was one of my best friends, and he was a mentor to me. And I said, Gary, I don't know what's wrong. I just lost job number 5, and I don't know what to do. And Gary said, let me pray about it. Next morning, he comes in and he says, how would you like to be wiser than all your bosses? And I said, yeah, right. I was 26 years old. He said, no, you can do something if you do it for 2 years. In 2 years, you'll be wiser than all your bosses. In 5 years, you'll probably be a millionaire. And that really made me laugh. I didn't even have money for food that day. In fact, we had breakfast because 2 women in a Bible study that I taught had anonymously left groceries on our doorstep. And that's how broke I was. And this guy says I can do something for 2 years, and in 5 years, I'll be a millionaire. Well, he was wrong. I was a millionaire in 2.5 years, a multimillionaire in 3 years. So it actually happened a lot faster than he could have guessed, than I could have guessed. What he did, he challenged me to get into this book. It's called the Book of Proverbs. It's in the Bible, but it's also called the Book of Wisdom. And he said, every day read the chapter of the day. So today's March 4th, so I'd read Proverbs chapter 4 with pen and paper in hand and write down the wisdom and the insights that you gain and begin to apply those to your work as soon as possible. Well, in the next 18 months, I went through Proverbs about 18 times and went through jobs number 6, 7, 8. But on job 9, something amazing happened. I had found 16 strategies. What's a strategy? A strategy is an approach to something. It's how you approach a problem, an opportunity, a project, how you approach your job, your career, your marriage, your parenting. All a strategy is an approach. Now, I'm not in my office now, I'm at home, so I can't show the poster that I showed in our first meeting that was today and this morning. But there's a picture of my son, Ryan, who's our vice president, and there's a picture of him at 16 years old jumping over a bar that's about 9 inches higher than he is. He was 6'1". Actually, this bar was 6'7". Later in that year, he did 6'10". But he jumped way over and he won the national championship. He went from a ranking of 20 the year before, finishing 20 in the year. And this year, which was 2009, he actually won the National Junior Olympics and jumping way over his height. And what happened? Well, believe it or not, we, Ryan, me, his coach, we all applied these same strategies that work in business. And his coach was a 3-time Olympian, and she had already been using these strategies. And so these strategies, once you learn, you've got to learn 2 things. You got to learn the strategies. And by the time my kids graduated from high school, they all learned these strategies. And then you've got to learn the skill sets. What are the skill sets? They are the way you actually apply the strategy to a particular situation. Now, what you'll learn in Barcelona, we're going to go through this. Now, you can go ahead and get into your back office. In the back office, you should be able to find a thing that says Neumi Academy. And it's about 20, 25 short clips that take you through some of these strategies. And there's also PDFs that go with it. But what we do, we say the first thing you have to do is you have to change your mind. Why? Everybody on this call has been programmed for mediocrity. You've been told from the time you were a child, no, you can't do that. No, you're too short. You don't have the math skills. You're not that good on the piano. Your voice isn't good enough. We've all been programmed. In fact, according to my good former friend before he passed away, Zig Ziglar, he said, by the time a child graduates high school, they've heard 50,000 times the things they're not capable of doing it. Well, guess what? That goes into our ears, into our brain, and we begin to act within the little box that's been created by all these negative statements from our coaches, our teachers, our parents, our friends, even our inner self tells us some of this stuff. Nana, lay down, sit. This is my dog, and she's going to want to bark in a minute to go outside. Nana, sit. Good girl. And so with that, your brain has gotten used to accepting mediocrity. And it happens to everybody. You're not alone. I mean, it happened to me. I could not succeed until I found the strategies and the skill sets that blew the box apart. And I found them and I started applying them. And by job number 9, I really had them down. And in 4 months, as a bottom of the ladder employee, I doubled that company's sales. I created a campaign that doubled that company's sales from 30 million a year to 60 million a year. Doubled it. 4 months of work. And a friend of mine said, let's do it on our own. Let's do our own business. And he had $5,000 and I had an idea. And when I gave my letter of resignation to the CEO, unlike the CEO that fired me, he offered to double my salary. I was 27. He offered to double my salary, give me a company Mercedes, and make me vice president of marketing. All my career dreams right there. But I turned them down. So we started a little company with $5,000. And, odds, I didn't realize how big the odds were. Odds were over 200 to 1 that we would fail, 200 to 1 against us. in the industry we were going into. Well, within 5 months, our sales hit $1 million a week. Now, that was 1976 when $1 million a week was a lot of money. I mean, a new house would cost about $50,000, a new car about 10 to 12. Gasoline here in the United States was at 39 cents a gallon. So that was a lot of money. Well, guess what? Within a few months, oh, I've got to let my dog out. I'm so sorry. Nana, you stay out and you better not want to come back in for a while.
This is real TV, ladies and gentlemen.
She's a puppy in training. It may happen one more time. Anyway, so we had almost no chance of succeeding. Well, we did succeed. By the time I retired from that company, we had created 25 other private companies that we own. We had done billions of dollars in sales, and myself and my partner and his 2 sons and 2 son-in-laws, we all made a lot of money, each of us tens of millions of dollars that we took out in profits over the years. And so life was good, right? So how could these strategies bring about such a change? Well, I'll give you an example. One of the strategies is become an effective and persuasive communicator. Do you know the number one problem in business is communication? The number one problem in marriage and other relationships is communication. The number one problem in parenting is communication. Okay, so communication's a big one. And yet Proverbs says a wise man trains his mouth. Now, in the Hebrew, it's literally bridles his mouth, learns how to keep his mouth shut when he needs to keep it shut, and adds persuasiveness to his lips. Well, that's the strategy, but how do you become persuasive? How do you become an effective and persuasive communicator? There's only 5 skill sets that you need to learn, and they're all learnable. Ryan had them down by the time he was a junior in high school, and he could persuade almost anybody to anything because he knew the right way to do it. Now, persuasion isn't manipulation. Persuasion isn't pushing somebody into something they want to do. Persuasion is literally turning a light on. So if it's dark, if I had this pin in the darkness, you wouldn't know what it was. It's turning on the light, so now you can see the pin in the light. Persuasion, number one, is turning on the light, and we have communication techniques that do that. And if what you want to talk about is valuable, like your marriage is falling apart, your kids don't talk to you anymore, something is really wrong, you're not succeeding in your Neumi business, whatever, it's not manipulation. It is turning the light on to something of value so they can see the real value of what you've got. And then it's showing them in a very practical, easy way how they can take that wonderful, valuable opportunity or project and apply it into their own life and do it, achieve it. Now, we divide people, believe it or not. There's 4 ways that you approach everybody. Falls in these 4 categories. How you approach a problem, a project, an opportunity, a tragedy, and it's always one of 4 ways. Number 1 is from the perspective of a drifter. What's a drifter? A drifter just goes with the flow. Just picture a canoe in a river and you don't have a paddle. What's it going to do? It's going to go wherever the river takes it. And it might take it to the end of the journey. You might crash in some rocks on the way, but you're not in control. You're just going with the flow. Do you know that's how most people pursue most things? Their relationships. I was a drifter in my marriage. I just went with the flow. I wasn't taking the proactive steps to strengthen and build my relationship. And I suffered the consequences, crashed into the rocks. And thank the Lord, I learned how to apply these strategies and skill sets to my marriage relationship. So approach number one, drifter. Doesn't achieve a lot most of the time. May get lucky. You know, you can win a lottery if you buy a lottery ticket. Now, the odds against you winning a big lottery are 300 million to 1 against you. So you probably won't win the big one. But that's, you know, you can hope. And we're going to redefine hope for you in a minute. But drifter. Number two is a pursuer. Okay. What's a pursuer? You see a goal, you see something you want, and you pursue it with energy, enthusiasm, creativity, and they achieve their goals. A pursuer does about, I would say, maybe 10% of the time. But 90% of the time, they don't achieve it. I was a pursuer in my career and work, but I didn't achieve. The third approach is that of an achiever. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you can't do it if you don't set clear, precise goals. A goal is, I want to be successful. I want to make $1 million. I want to be financially, and those are, honestly, those are wishes, and wishes are like the clouds. You know, I got my pilot's license when I was 17 for gliders, and I've been through clouds. They don't stop you. There's nothing there. It's just water, you know. Water's good, but not when you got to get through a cloud. Anyway, it's not, that's how wishes are. That's not hope. We'll talk about hope in a minute. But an achiever sets specific goals. For example, I would do projects. We'd find a breakthrough product, or we need another product. So this is back when I was in television. So we would look for a product that was a true breakthrough. A breakthrough is a product that can do something more effectively, more efficiently than anything else in the world can do it. And that's what we looked for. And that's how we got so successful. That was the first step we'd take. Find a breakthrough product. All of our competitors that had a success rate of less than 1 out of 200, they would get this project and this project and this product and that product, and they'd throw them against the wall and hope one would succeed. That wasn't us. We really narrowed the scope. We wanted to find breakthroughs. And so that became one of the critical goals that we set. Once we found a breakthrough, what do we have to do now? Well, now there's a whole bunch of things. So you have to have meaningful, specific goals. And we teach in Neumi Academy and at the conference in Madrid, we teach how to set the right goals, because people set foolish goals. We're not talking about achievable goals necessarily, because you could go way beyond achievable goals. You can do impossible, and we'll show you how to do that. But how to go ahead for the things that are really important to you, how you can move from a drifter or a pursuer into an achiever. Now, one thing I found out when I learned these 16 strategies, not many people use them. In fact, less than 0.5% of the American adult population uses these strategies. But that 0.5% is most of the wealth in America, believe it or not. Now, I was in a restaurant and I looked across the way, and one of my former schoolmates, a guy sat next to at every football game. He was in the band, I was in the color guard, and I looked at him and he looked at me, and he kept staring at me. His name is Steven Spielberg. He was the director of Jaws, E.T., Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Schindler's List. I mean, the guy is a superstar. Well, we went to high school together. So he comes over and he says, tell me about your life since high school. We had been out of high school for 18 years, and we had both achieved our impossible dreams. Steve was a D student in a good semester. That means real low. I was more of a B student, but still I didn't really qualify. I wasn't in sports. There were so many things I couldn't do. But we started comparing notes, and the exact same strategies I used, Steve used. And we both even found the same skill sets. And look what it did for him. I mean, it blew me away. And there was another actor that when I did that, the next thing I know, well, the next day, I lived on the beach in a place called Malibu. And right down the beach from me was one of my best friends in life. He'd done a lot of work with me. His name was Michael Landon. He was a very successful, probably one of the most successful TV stars in the history of television for over 30 years. He had 100% batting average. Anything he did, he hit home runs, anything. But it wasn't always that way. So I tell Mike about seeing Spielberg the night before. We were 45 minutes together. And Spielberg had said, you know, what really changes your life isn't your education, anything. It's the right mentor. Because he had a great mentor, a guy named Sid Sheinberg. I had 3 great mentors: Gary Smalley, Bob Marsh, Arthur DeMoss, and they were unbelievable. And he said it's the mentors. And I said, but Steve, how many people do you know that have a great mentor like Sid, like you do with Sid? And he said, I don't know anybody that has mentors like I had. So mentors make a difference. Well, the team at Neumi, we are just one of your potential mentors. I've written books that tell how to do what I do. That's if you do that and begin to apply what you see, you're being mentored. So what are the 16 strategies? I'm not going to go into them right now very deep at all, but I'll give you a couple of them. The first is, how do I change my mind? How do I change my brain from one that's programmed for mediocrity to one that is programmed for extraordinary success? And we'll show you how to do that. It's not mystical. It's not psychological. All it is learning how to create a meaningful vision, a very specific vision. And then you're going to break that vision into goals into steps into tasks. When you do that and you see it moves you down the road to success on an individual situation, that all of a sudden creates hope. Now, what is hope? Hope isn't a wish. Wishes are pretty worthless. Oh, I wish I could get a better job. I wish I could do this. They're like clouds. Hope, if you have a pencil, write this down, because this is the real definition of hope, not according to Webster or the Oxford Dictionary, but according to Proverbs. This puts it all together. So hope is my wife is texting me right now. She's in another state, but she doesn't know I'm on a call. Hope is the well-founded, concrete is the well-founded, I'm losing it because I got distracted by my wife. Okay, hope is the well-founded, confident belief that which is pursued, promised, or committed will be achieved within a specific amount of time. I'm going to repeat that. Hope is the well-founded, has a great concrete foundation, not a foundation of sand or straw, concrete. Hope is the well-founded, confident belief that which I pursue, promise, or am committed to will be achieved within a very specific amount of time. That's true hope. And we can create that. How do we create that? Well, let's take the foundation. Our foundation is made up of 2 elements that form the concrete. Number 1 is science. Our science on hydrostat blows away anybody else's delivery method. We've proved that scientifically. We'll be sharing with that at the convention. I think we'll have it be allowed by our patent attorneys to then tell you how different and how much more successful our science is than any other delivery method of glutathione or anything else. So number 1 ingredient in our cement is, see, she keeps texting me. It's my daughter's birthday, 25th birthday. And they're in Michigan and I'm here in Utah. Science, we have real science, specific, not general, specific science that proves that we do something nobody else in the world can do as effectively or efficiently. Number 2 ingredient is experience. Most of you, if you're in Neumi for a year, you know people whose lives have been changed. Their health has improved. Their performance has improved. Things they never imagined are starting to happen from the product, okay? So our foundation for our hope with Neumi, number 1 is the science. Number 2 is the experience that validates the science. And together they form a concrete that you can build. You can build a single-story structure of success. You can build a high-rise building because the foundation will support it. Okay, so that's hope. Now, what are some of the strategies? We've already talked. One is learning how to effectively and persuasively communicate. Effective communication is when the other person hears, actually understands what you're saying, but it's not totally effective until they feel what you're conveying. So they understand what you're saying and they feel what you're feeling. When that happens with a listener, you have effectively communicated. Persuasion then is just taking it one step further, real simple step, and we'll show you that at our convention. So that's one. Effective communication. What's another one? Effective partnering. Do you know nobody in history has ever achieved anything extraordinary or significant without effectively partnering? No one. Even Jesus Christ had disciples that he partnered with. His real partner was God. Well, you can't get a better partner than God. Okay, but even he, as I studied hundreds of people who had achieved their impossible dreams, every single one of them did it with partners. And it was the partnership that ended up being the tipping point into success. So if we teach how to effectively partner, 90% of all partnerships fail because that's ineffective partnering. Do you know there's 7 kinds of partners you should avoid at all cost? 7. And we show you what those 7 traits are. And if you have somebody like that, don't partner with them. You can be their friend, their coach, but don't intertwine into a partnership with any of these people who have any of these 7 qualities. And we show you that. Okay, so partnering, what else? How to creatively persist. Do you know Thomas Edison, the inventor of the incandescent light bulb, had creatively persisted through more failures to achieve more successes than any businessman in history, over 1,000 patents. How did he do it? He had 5 things that he did that allowed him to creatively persist. Persistence isn't hitting a wall, falling down, hitting it again and again and again. That's not persistence. That's stupidity. Okay? Creative persistence hits the wall, falls down, and finds a way over the wall, around the wall, under the wall, or they blow it up. Edison found the secret. 5 things he did. I have never shared this where somebody said, oh, I knew that. But he did. And one that was the most critical, nobody does, but Edison did. And I did it on every project. Once we started American Telecasts, that's how we grew from $5,000 to billions of dollars in sales. Our hit rate in an industry where the hit rate is under 1 out of 200, our hit rate was 72%. And it wasn't that we were geniuses. We just found what worked between our partners, and we did it, and it worked. So we're going to be sharing that. What's another one? How to gain a passion. Some people are naturally passionate. They're born passionate. Most people aren't. 90% of the population isn't passionate. And that passion, it's not the control, it's not the engine room, it's the fuel that powers the engine that you need to have powered. And we show you how to create. There's 3 steps to becoming passionate. And if a roofer in Phoenix, Arizona in 120-degree heat, he can become passionate about his job, and he can end up being the best roofer in Arizona. He can become a millionaire installing roofs in the summertime in the Phoenix heat when he creates that passion. So there's 3 things you need to do that create passion. People like Oprah Winfrey, who those of you that are international may not know who she is, but she did this. Then how do you develop friendships, relationships? We get into all of that. And so I'm excited about the convention coming up. I can't wait to be there and have one-on-one time with our leaders and group time together, and it's going to be great. This is really our first truly international convention. We've had Achieve meetings, we've had Diamond Cruises. Well, now this is the year we're doing that big event in Barcelona. And so we hope you'll join us. And with that, I'm going to turn this back to Michael. Remember, Neumi Academy in your back office is available to you. I don't know how you get there because I don't get into the back office, but it's there. Michael, I'm handing it back to you, bud.
Beautiful. Thank you, Steve. And guys, can we just say, I've been a friend of Steve's now, saying to him, nearly 20 years now. And when Steve stepped into my life, I had a mentor like no other mentor, for success and personal growth and development, so professional development. So when you do go back to the back office, I'm going to show it to you now. I'll show you where you can find it. Now, if you look at mine and go, how come it says he hasn't studied it? We changed back offices after I studied all of this, just so we're clear. This is, if you go to the left-hand side and then you click on tools and resources and then training, you will see Neumi Academy. So all of Steve's stuff is right in there. And you'll be able to look at every single topic with Steve sharing with you. It's phenomenal. Having said that, I want to also point out that there's Neumi Academy in Spanish and there is field training videos. Now, I show you that for a reason because I also have an amazing mentor in Alex Monterosa. Now, I can't tell you how to become a president in Neumi. Why? Theory doesn't cut it. I've not become one. I can tell you how to become a crown. So I reached out to find a great mentor who had been a crown, which is Alex. Yeah. So no theory, practical advice. Steve has sold billions and he's a personal development expert. So no theory, practical outcomes as well. So get yourself a mentor who has a bigger business than you for field stuff and then study Steve's stuff for personal development. So don't be that person that actually goes around and only does the biceps, glutathione knowledge. Learn from Steve about personal development. Learn from people like Alex and the rest of the crowns on what they've done to get themselves to where they are. Now, advertising just next week's events. You may or may not know, we have a new 20-minute condensed version of the presentation, which people are raving about. So next week's presenter on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, will be Irene Treveludis, who is actually the pioneer of all the Greek market. And then on Wednesday next week, we're going to have numerous leaders share their thoughts on this topic. And I'll leave you with this. Some of you are using the Neumi 1, 2, 3 process with third-party validation as step 2. Some are not. And that's not okay. We can't say you must do this or mustn't do this. Success leaves clues. So you're going to hear a little video from Karen Justice, who is a double crown in my team, who says, and I quote, she would not be in the business today if Larry wasn't smart enough to get her on a third-party validation call as part of the second step. Half of my entire business across all of the world would not exist if Larry didn't use step 2. She says this. And I was smart enough to go, hey, got a big fish in my hands here. I will immediately bump into another call where I got her on the call with Steve and Aaron. I share this with you because a lot of people skip step 2 and wonder why they never build big businesses. And it's one of the biggest blind spots for people out there. So don't miss next week where we'll talk all about how third-party validation is a critical component. So thank you, Steve, for an amazing event today. And we'll see everybody on